Maxwell's headlights cut through the darkness as he drove home late that Friday night. His daughter was asleep in the back seat. Her soft breathing was the only sound in the car. He was exhausted. Single fatherhood did that to a man. Then he saw her. A woman stood beside a broken-down car on the empty roadside. Her hazard lights blinked weakly in the night. Maxwell slowed down. He always stopped to help. That's just who he was. He pulled over and stepped out into the cold air. The woman turned toward him. Her face was hidden in shadows. "Thank you so much," she said. Her voice trembled with relief. "I didn't think anyone would stop." Maxwell froze. That voice. His blood turned to ice. He knew that voice. He had heard it in his dreams for 3 years. The woman stepped into the light. Madeline, his ex. The woman who vanished without a word. The woman who shattered his heart and never looked back. She stared at him. Her eyes went wide with recognition. "Maxwell," she whispered. The air between them turned heavy. Neither of them moved. Neither of them spoke. Maxwell's heart pounded in his chest like a drum. His mind went completely blank. Madeline stood there in the glow of his headlights. Her lips parted as if she wanted to say something. But no words came out. 3 years. 3 years since she walked out of his life without explanation. 3 years since he woke up to an empty apartment and a single note that said, "I'm sorry." 3 years of wondering what he did wrong. Maxwell felt his hands curl into fists at his sides. Old anger bubbled up inside him. It mixed with shock and confusion and something else he didn't want to name. "I didn't know it was you," Madeline finally said. Her voice was barely above a whisper. Maxwell forced himself to breathe. "Yeah, me neither." The silence stretched between them like a canyon. Madeline looked different. Thinner. Tired. Her hair was longer now and pulled back in a messy ponytail. The confident light that used to shine in her eyes was gone. She looked exhausted. Vulnerable. Almost fragile. This wasn't the woman he remembered. Maxwell's daughter shifted in the back seat. She made a small sound in her sleep. Madeline's gaze moved past him toward the car. Her expression changed when she saw the child. Something flickered across her face. Pain. Regret. Maybe something deeper. Maxwell's protective instincts kicked in immediately. He stepped slightly to the side, blocking Madeline's view. "You have a daughter," Madeline said softly. It wasn't a question. "Yes." Another silence. Maxwell didn't know what to do. Every part of him wanted to get back in his car and drive away. Leave Madeline stranded the same way she left him stranded in his own life. But he couldn't. That wasn't who he was. He looked at her broken-down car. The hood was still up. Steam rose from the engine. "What happened?" he asked. His voice came out colder than he intended. Madeline wrapped her arms around herself. "The engine overheated. I don't know why. It just died." Maxwell glanced down the dark road. There were no other cars. No lights. No gas stations for miles. His daughter made another sound from the back seat. He was torn. Completely torn. Part of him wanted answers. Wanted to demand why she left. Why she never called. Why she threw away everything they had without a single explanation. Part of him wanted to protect his heart. To walk away before she could hurt him again. But another part of him, the part that made him a good father, couldn't leave someone stranded in the dark. Even if that someone destroyed him. "Do you have someone you can call?" Maxwell asked. Madeline looked down at her feet. "No." "Family? Friends?" "No." Her voice cracked slightly. Maxwell ran a hand through his hair. He felt the weight of the moment pressing down on him. This was impossible. Madeline lifted her eyes to meet his. In the dim light, he could see they were glassy with unshed tears. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. "For everything. I know you don't owe me anything. If you want to leave, I understand." Maxwell's jaw tightened. She was right. He didn't owe her anything. But he looked at her standing there in the cold, and he saw someone who was barely holding herself together. This wasn't the Madeline who left him. This was someone who had been through something. Something bad. His daughter stirred again in the back seat. Maxwell made a decision he might regret. "Get in," he said. Madeline's eyes widened. "What?" "Get in the car. I'll take you somewhere." "Maxwell, you don't have to." "I know I don't have to," he interrupted. "But I'm not leaving you out here in the dark. So get in." Madeline stared at him for a long moment. Surprise and gratitude warred on her face. She grabbed her purse from her car and locked the doors with shaking hands. Then she walked toward his passenger side. Maxwell's chest tightened as he watched her. What was he doing? He opened his car door and slid into the driver's seat. Madeline climbed in beside him. The space felt impossibly small. Her presence filled every inch of air. Maxwell gripped the steering wheel and stared straight ahead. This was going to be the longest drive of his life. Maxwell pulled back onto the dark road. The silence in the car was suffocating. He could hear every breath Madeline took, every small shift in her seat. The quiet was so thick it pressed against his skin. He kept his eyes on the road. His hands gripped the steering wheel so tight his knuckles turned white. Madeline sat perfectly still beside him, like she was afraid to move, afraid to breathe too loud. In the back seat, his daughter slept peacefully. She had no idea that the woman sitting in front of her was the ghost Maxwell had been running from for 3 years. He didn't know where he was taking Madeline. He just drove. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw Madeline turn her head. She was looking back at his daughter. Her expression changed. The exhaustion was still there, but now there was something else. Something that made Maxwell's chest ache. Pain. Deep, raw pain. Regret. Longing. Madeline stared at his sleeping daughter like she was looking at something precious. Something she lost and could never get back. Her hand moved slightly, like she wanted to reach out. But she stopped herself. Her fingers curled into her palm. Maxwell's throat tightened. He forced himself to look away. Forced himself to focus on the road. Questions screamed inside his head. Why did you leave? Why didn't you call? Why didn't I matter enough for you to stay? The words burned on his tongue. He wanted to say them, wanted to shout them, but he didn't, because he was afraid. Afraid that her answers would hurt worse than her silence. Afraid that after 3 years, he still cared too much. She's beautiful, Madeline whispered. Maxwell's jaw clenched. Yeah, she is. What's her name? He hesitated. Giving Madeline information about his daughter felt too personal, too close. But he answered anyway. Emma. Emma, Madeline repeated softly, like she was tasting the name. That's a beautiful name. Maxwell didn't respond. Another silence fell between them. Madeline turned back to face the front. She stared out the windshield at the dark road ahead. How old is she? Madeline asked. 2.5. Madeline nodded slowly. She did the math in her head. Maxwell could see it happening. 2.5 years old. That meant Emma was born about 6 months after Madeline left. Madeline's face went pale. You moved on fast, she said quietly. Maxwell's anger flared. Hot and sudden. Don't, he said sharply. Don't do that. Madeline flinched. You don't get to judge how I lived my life after you abandoned me, Maxwell continued. His voice was low but edged with hurt. You left, Madeline. You walked away without a word. Without a reason. You don't get to have an opinion about what happened after. Madeline's eyes filled with tears. You're right. I'm sorry. Maxwell's hands shook on the steering wheel. He forced himself to breathe. He wasn't being fair. He knew that. Emma wasn't his biological daughter. She was his adopted daughter. Her mother was his late best friend who passed away in childbirth. But he wasn't ready to explain that to Madeline. He wasn't ready to give her any piece of himself. The silence returned, heavier than before. Madeline wiped at her eyes with the back of her hand. Maxwell hated this. Hated how much his heart still responded to her pain. Hated how much he still noticed every detail about her. The way she twisted her fingers together in her lap. The way she bit her bottom lip when she was holding back tears. The way her breath hitched when she was trying not to cry. He still knew her. Even after 3 years. Even after the abandonment and the heartbreak. He still knew her. And that terrified him. Where are we going? Madeline asked softly. Good question. Maxwell hadn't thought that far ahead. He couldn't take her home. That was his safe space. His sanctuary. The place where he and Emma built their life together. But he couldn't just drop her at a random corner either. There's a motel about 10 minutes from here, Maxwell finally said. Madeline nodded. Okay. She didn't argue. Didn't ask for anything more. That made it worse somehow. If you've ever run into someone from your past unexpectedly, you know how Maxwell feels right now. Hit the like button if this story is pulling you in. The headlights illuminated the empty road ahead. Maxwell's mind raced with memories he tried to bury. Madeline's laugh. Her smile. The way she used to look at him like he was her entire world. The way she left like he meant nothing. His heart was a war zone. And Madeline was sitting right beside him, close enough to touch, but impossibly far away. The miles stretched on in silence. Then Madeline finally spoke. Her voice was shaking. I'm not just passing through, Maxwell. He glanced at her quickly, then back at the road. I live 2 towns over, she continued. In Millbrook. I have for a while now. Maxwell's eyebrows pulled together. Millbrook was only 40 minutes away. She had been that close. All this time. I was driving to my sister's place, Madeline said. She lives up north. I was going to stay with her for a while. Why? Maxwell asked before he could stop himself. Madeline went quiet for a moment. I'm running from something, she admitted. Her voice was barely a whisper. Maxwell's stomach dropped. Running from what? From my life. From my mistakes. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. From everything, really. Maxwell waited. He didn't push. Something told him she needed to say this at her own pace. I lost my job 6 months ago, Madeline said. The company shut down. I've been doing whatever work I can find. Cleaning houses. Waiting tables. Anything. She stared down at her hands. They looked rougher than he remembered. Worn. My landlord raised the rent. I couldn't pay it. I got evicted last week. Maxwell felt something shift in his chest. I've been sleeping in my car, she whispered. The same car that just died on me. The words hung in the air like smoke. Maxwell didn't know what to say. The Madeline he knew had been full of dreams. She wanted to travel. She wanted to start her own business. She was going to take on the world. This woman beside him was someone the world had beaten down. Why didn't you call anyone? Maxwell asked quietly. Family? Friends? Madeline shook her head. My parents passed away 2 years ago, within 6 months of each other. Maxwell's breath caught. Madeline, I'm sorry. Yeah. Her voice cracked. Me too. He remembered her parents. Her mother's warm hugs. Her father's terrible jokes. They had welcomed Maxwell like a son, and they were gone. And Madeline had faced that loss alone. There's no one else, she said. I pushed everyone away after I left you. I was too ashamed to come back. Too ashamed to explain. Maxwell's hands loosened on the wheel. Old feelings began to stir inside him. Feelings he thought had died 3 years ago. Concern. Tenderness. That old pull toward her that never fully went away. He hated it. And he couldn't stop it. Madeline turned slightly in her seat. Can I ask you something? Okay. Emma. She has your eyes. Maxwell almost smiled. Almost. Everyone says that. Does she have a mother? In the picture, I mean. The tenderness in her voice caught him off guard. There was no judgment in it. No jealousy. Just a gentle, careful question. No, Maxwell said. It's just me and her. Madeline nodded slowly. You're doing it alone. Like me, I guess. Except you're doing it better. There's no better or worse, Maxwell said. There's just surviving. Madeline looked at him then. Really looked at him. When did you get so wise? She whispered. When I had to be. Something passed between them. A small, fragile understanding. Then a small voice came from the back seat. Daddy. Maxwell glanced in the rearview mirror. Emma was awake. She rubbed her eyes with her little fists. Hey, sweetheart. Go back to sleep, okay? But Emma was looking at Madeline now. Her big, curious eyes studied the stranger in the front seat. Who's the pretty lady? Emma asked. The question hung in the air like a snowflake. Delicate. Innocent. Madeline's face crumbled, then softened. A tear slid down her cheek, and she didn't even try to hide it. Hi, Emma, Madeline said softly. My name is Madeline. Emma smiled that bright, fearless smile only children have. That's a princess name. Madeline let out a shaky laugh. Thank you. Are you Daddy's friend? Emma asked. The question hit Maxwell right in the heart. Madeline looked at him. Her eyes were full of everything she couldn't say. Something like that, Madeline whispered. Emma yawned and snuggled back into her car seat. Within seconds, she was asleep again. The warmth she left behind filled the whole car. For the first time in 3 years, the space between Maxwell and Madeline didn't feel so cold. If Emma's innocent heart just melted yours, comment below. Kids always see the truth adults are too scared to say. The motel sign flickered in neon pink against the darkness. Maxwell pulled into the parking lot and stopped the car. Madeline stared at the rundown building. Cracked windows. Peeling paint. A broken sign that read vacancy. This wasn't a place anyone should have to stay. Thank you, Madeline said quietly. For the ride. For everything. She reached for the door handle. Maxwell watched her. Something felt wrong about this. Leaving her here. Alone. In this place. Madeline, wait. She stopped. Turned back to him. Maxwell looked at the motel again. Then at his sleeping daughter in the back seat. He was about to make a decision that went against every wall he'd built around his heart. Come stay at my place tonight. Madeline's eyes went wide. What? I have a guest room. It's clean. Safe. Maxwell's voice was steady, but his heart was racing. You don't belong here. Maxwell, I can't. After everything I did to you. It's one night, he interrupted. That's it. Madeline stared at him like she couldn't believe what she was hearing. Why? She whispered. Maxwell didn't answer right away. He didn't know why. He just knew he couldn't drive away and leave her in this place. Because it's the right thing to do. Madeline's eyes filled with tears. Okay. The drive to Maxwell's house was quiet. Emma stayed asleep as he carried her inside and tucked her into her bed. When he came back downstairs, Madeline was standing in his living room. She looked lost. Out of place. The guest room is upstairs, Maxwell said. First door on the left. Thank you. They stood there for a moment, not knowing what to say. There are towels in the bathroom. Help yourself to anything in the kitchen if you're hungry. Madeline nodded. Maxwell, I don't. He held up a hand. Not tonight. I can't do this tonight. Madeline's face crumpled slightly, but she nodded. Good night, she whispered. Maxwell waited until he heard the guest room door close. Then he sat on his couch and put his head in his hands. What was he doing? 2 hours later, Maxwell was still awake, staring at the ceiling. A soft knock came at his door. Come in. Madeline stepped inside. She had changed into an old t-shirt and sweatpants. Her hair was down around her shoulders. She looked like the woman he used to love. I can't sleep, she said. Maxwell sat up. Neither can I. Madeline sat on the edge of his couch, far enough away that they weren't touching, close enough that he could smell her shampoo. I need to tell you something, she said. Maxwell's stomach tightened. Okay. Madeline took a shaky breath. The reason I left 3 years ago. The words Maxwell had been waiting for. The answers he'd needed. But now that they were coming, he was terrified. I was sick, Madeline whispered. Maxwell's world tilted. What? I found a lump. In my breast. 3 years ago. Tears started streaming down her face. I went to the doctor. They ran tests. Lots of tests. Maxwell felt like he couldn't breathe. They thought it was cancer. They were almost sure it was cancer. The room went completely silent. I didn't know how to tell you, Madeline continued. We had just started talking about moving in together. About the future. And suddenly, I might not have a future. Maxwell's hands started shaking. So I left, she whispered. I left because I couldn't bear the thought of you watching me die. I couldn't bear the thought of putting you through that. Maxwell stared at her. Madeline, I was convinced I was dying, she said through her tears. I was convinced that leaving you was the kindest thing I could do. Maxwell felt like the world had cracked open. All this time. All this pain. All this anger. She left to protect him. Sometimes the truth hits harder than any lie ever could. If this revelation just broke your heart, smash that like button. But you didn't die, Maxwell said quietly. Madeline shook her head. The lump was benign. I found out 3 weeks after I left you. Maxwell closed his eyes. 3 weeks. She could have come back after 3 weeks. But she didn't. And now he understood why. By then, she thought it was too late. Maxwell opened his eyes and looked at Madeline, the woman sitting on his couch, the woman who destroyed his world to save him from pain. All the emotions he'd buried for 3 years erupted at once. Anger, heartbreak, betrayal, love, rage, desperation. They crashed over him like a tsunami. 3 weeks, he said quietly. Madeline flinched at his tone. You could have come back after 3 weeks. But you didn't. Maxwell, No. He stood up. His voice got louder. You don't get to explain this away. Madeline shrank back into the couch. You made a choice for me, Maxwell continued. His hands shook with anger. You decided what I could and couldn't handle. You decided that I was too weak to face your illness with you. That's not what That's exactly what you did. Maxwell's voice cracked. You took away my choice. You took away our choice. Madeline's tears came faster now. Do you have any idea what you put me through? Maxwell paced across the room. Do you know what it's like to wake up and find the person you love just gone? No explanation. No goodbye. Just gone. I left a note, Madeline whispered. Maxwell laughed bitterly. A note? I'm sorry. That was supposed to explain 3 years of my life. He stopped pacing and stared at her. I thought I did something wrong. I spent months going over every conversation we had, every moment between us, trying to figure out what I did to drive you away. Madeline covered her face with her hands. I know. I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't give me back 3 years, Madeline. The words hung in the air like broken glass. Maxwell felt something crack inside his chest. You stole time from us, he said quietly. Time we could have spent together. Time we could have fought through whatever came our way. Together. Madeline looked up at him. Her face was streaked with tears. I was trying to protect you, she said. I didn't ask you to protect me. Maxwell shouted. I asked you to love me. I asked you to trust me. The words echoed through the quiet house. Maxwell took a shaky breath. You want to know the worst part? He said. His voice was raw now. Broken. I would have stayed. Through the cancer. Through the treatments. Through everything. I would have held your hand through all of it. Madeline's sob filled the room. But you didn't think I was strong enough for that. You didn't think our love was strong enough for that. That's not true, Madeline whispered. Then why didn't you come back? After you found out you were okay? Why didn't you come home? Madeline was quiet for a long moment. Then she said something that shattered what was left of Maxwell's heart. Because I've been watching you. Maxwell went completely still. What? I've been watching you from afar. For 3 years. Madeline's voice was barely audible. I know about Emma. I know you adopted her after Sarah died. I know you're an amazing father. I know you built this beautiful life. Maxwell felt the blood drain from his face. You've been watching me? I couldn't stay away completely. I drove by your house sometimes. I saw you at the park with Emma. I saw you teaching her to ride her bike. Maxwell's stomach twisted. I saw how happy you were, Madeline continued. How complete your life looked without me in it. And I knew I'd made the right choice. The right choice. Maxwell's voice was dangerous now. You found your purpose. You found your family. You didn't need me anymore. Maxwell stared at her like she was speaking a foreign language. Are you insane? He whispered. Madeline blinked. Do you think any of that happiness was real? Do you think I ever stopped missing you? Ever stopped wondering what if? Madeline's face crumbled. Maxwell ran his hands through his hair. He felt like he was losing his mind. I can't do this, he said. I can't have you in my house. In my life. Messing with my head again. Madeline stood up slowly. You're right, she whispered. This was a mistake. All of it. She walked toward the door. I'll be gone in the morning. If you're feeling Maxwell's pain right now, hit that subscribe button. This story is about to take a turn that will break your heart wide open. Maxwell watched her walk away. Again. And this time, he didn't know if he was strong enough to survive it. Maxwell stood in his living room staring at the empty doorway. Madeline was upstairs packing. He could hear her moving around in the guest room. In a few hours, she would be gone again. This time forever. Maxwell sank onto his couch. He put his head in his hands. Why was he letting her leave? Because he was angry. Because he was hurt. Because loving her felt like walking into fire. But also because he was scared. Scared that if he asked her to stay, she would say no. Scared that 3 years of pain had killed whatever they once had. Scared that some things were too broken to fix. A small voice broke through his thoughts. Daddy. Maxwell looked up. Emma stood in the doorway wearing her pajamas. Her hair was messy from sleep. She was holding her favorite stuffed elephant. The one she never went anywhere without. Hey, sweetheart. What are you doing up? Emma rubbed her eyes. I heard sad voices. Maxwell's heart clenched. He had tried to keep his voice down. But Emma was sensitive. She always knew when something was wrong. Come here, Maxwell said. Emma climbed onto his lap. She snuggled against his chest. Is the pretty lady still here? Emma asked. Yeah, but she's leaving soon. Emma was quiet for a moment. Then she looked up at him with those big, wise eyes. Is she the sad lady? Maxwell's breath caught. What do you mean? She looks like she is sad in her eyes. Like when Mrs. Peterson's kitty went to heaven. Out of the mouths of babes. Emma slid off Maxwell's lap. She walked toward the stairs with her stuffed elephant. Emma, where are you going? To help the sad lady. Maxwell started to follow her. But something stopped him. Maybe Emma could do what he couldn't. Maybe a child's heart could heal what adult hearts had broken. Maxwell heard small footsteps on the stairs. Then a gentle knock on the guest room door. He moved to the bottom of the staircase. He could hear voices. Hi, pretty lady. Emma's sweet voice carried down the hall. Hi, Emma. Madeline's voice was thick with tears. What are you doing up? You're sad, Emma said simply. I can tell. A pause. Yeah, Madeline admitted. I'm a little sad. I brought you Peanut, Emma said. He makes the sad go away. Maxwell's heart broke open. Peanut was Emma's most precious possession. The stuffed elephant had been with her since birth. She never shared him with anyone. But she was offering him to Madeline. Maxwell heard footsteps moving. Then Madeline's voice, choked with emotion. Oh, Emma. This is your special elephant. He's magic, Emma said seriously. He chases bad dreams away. And he makes hurt hearts feel better. Maxwell closed his eyes. Tears burned behind his lids. You can keep him, Emma continued. So you won't be sad anymore. The silence that followed felt sacred. Then Maxwell heard something that shattered every wall around his heart. Madeline was crying. Not the quiet tears from earlier. Real, deep sobs. Thank you, Emma, Madeline whispered. He's the most beautiful gift anyone has ever given me. Will you stay and have pancakes with us tomorrow? Emma asked. Daddy makes really good pancakes. With chocolate chips. Another pause. I don't think I can, sweetheart. Please. Emma's voice was small but hopeful. I like you. And Daddy gets happy-sad when he looks at you. Maxwell's chest tightened. Happy-sad. That was exactly what he felt. What's happy-sad? Madeline asked gently. It's when you smile but your eyes are crying. Maxwell couldn't listen anymore. He walked up the stairs. His heart was pounding. When he reached the guest room doorway, the sight before him stopped him cold. Madeline was sitting on the bed holding Peanut against her chest. Tears streamed down her face. Emma stood beside her, patting Madeline's arm like she was comforting a wounded bird. This little girl, his daughter, was showing more courage than he had. Maxwell stepped into the room. Emma's right, he said quietly. Both Madeline and Emma looked at him. About what? Madeline whispered. Maxwell's voice shook as he spoke. I do get happy-sad when I look at you. Madeline's eyes filled with fresh tears. Maxwell took a deep breath. It was time to be brave. Time to choose love over fear. Stay, he said. Not just for pancakes. Stay and let us try again. Stay and let us see if 3 years of hurt can turn into something better. If a child's pure heart just showed you what real love looks like, hit that like button. Sometimes it takes innocence to heal what experience has broken. Madeline looked from Maxwell to Emma, then back to Maxwell. For a moment, everything hung in the balance. Then Madeline nodded. Yes, she whispered. I'll stay. Emma clapped her hands. Yay. Pancake family. The next morning, Maxwell woke to the sound of laughter coming from his kitchen. He found Emma teaching Madeline how to flip pancakes. Flour covered both of them. Madeline caught his eye over Emma's head and smiled. It wasn't the old smile. It wasn't the new smile. It was something entirely different. Something hopeful. Something that looked like a beginning. They ate breakfast together at his kitchen table. Emma chattered about everything and nothing. Madeline listened like every word was precious. Maxwell watched them and felt something he thought was dead come back to life. Not the old love he'd lost. Something new. Something stronger. Something worth fighting for. Comment below if you believe in second chances. Sometimes the best love stories are the ones that teach us how to heal. Outside the window, the sun was rising on what felt like the first day of the rest of their lives.